What's the deal, family? Welcome back to the channel. Today we got another banger for y'all, man. So look, we got NRL's Pacific Island Revolution is destroying rugby union. We about to run this up one time for the one time, man. And this is brought to us by Uggy. All right, he actually has another video, which is talking about is NRL destroying rugby union in Australia. But I figured this one was a little bit more interesting, so we're going to watch this one. But if you guys want me to watch the other ones, or even this other video, is rugby union officially dead in Australia, let me know. But this one's about the NRL Pacific Islanders, and he just said rugby union, so I feel like it'd be more broad. But after just looking at the title and seeing a bunch of other videos talking about this within the last year, I decided to do just a tad bit of research. Just a little bit. Not too much, man. Not too much. But I was wondering, like, okay, let's see if this is true. Let's just look at some super basic of the basic analytics, and let me just see what my thoughts are. So I was looking at the World Rugby rankings, all the teams and their highest placement versus their lowest placement. And what I noticed was, if you look at Australia, the best years they've had were from 2003 all the way through into 2015-16, where they were ranked second. If you look at their worst ranking they've ever had, which is 10th place, that was in 2023, right? And currently, they are ranked 9th at 77.48. All right, now let's keep going. Let's look at some other teams, right? Let's look at Fiji, right? Best ranked 2023. Worst was in 2011-12, which was 16. So they're on the upside, and currently they're ranked 10. Now let's keep going. Let's look at New Zealand. Highest ranked, number 1, pretty much from 2003 all the way into 2021, right? They got rank 1 in 19 and in 21. Their worst rank ever was 5th in 2022. So that's also pretty recent. Let's look at Samoa. Best rank 2013 at 7. Worst rank 17th in 2018 and 19. Recent. Now let's look at, I think there's one more. Tonga. Tonga is the only one out of all those teams outside of Fiji. Tonga and Fiji are the only teams that their best ranking is more recent than their worst ranking. So Tonga, best ranked 9th in 2011, worst ranked 20th in 2005-2008. So most of the teams from those areas in the last 5 to 6 years have had their worst rankings of all time. All right. So that was just interesting. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm sure he's going to dive into more of it in the video. But let's get into this one. I just want you guys to watch this video with me. Also, let me know your thoughts on whether you agree or disagree with his opinions. And I might throw out some opinions myself. So let's hop into it. See what they talking about. Make sure to smash that like button for your boy. We going up right now. Smash that like button for your boy, man.
This is rugby union and this is rugby league. They are two of the most entertaining contact sports in the world, both which have really strong Pacific Island connections. Not just for the overwhelming talent and unbelievable genetic build of players, but also the passionate supporters and volunteers spread right across the globe. You see, 20% of rugby union's playing community is of Pacific Islander descent, and in Australia and New Zealand, this number is closer to 50%.
Oh, wow.
Which is just insane when you think about it. Rugby league has seen astronomical growth in Pacific players, moving from just 0.1% in 1976 to match rugby's 20% global and 50% in Australia and New Zealand. I wanted to bring this to your attention. This is rugby's top countries for participation per capita, and if the NRL continues on...
Wait. What is this? NIUE? What is that? Somebody let me know in the comments. I know Tonga, Fiji, Cook Islands, and Samoa, but I have no idea what NIUE is.
Its current trajectory, rugby league will essentially overtake union as the main sport throughout the Pacific. While it may sound like a stretch, it's a harsh reality. This is Jason Taumalolo, one of the GOATs of rugby league, who's pretty much responsible for the rapid rise of Pacific Island Rugby League in the modern era. In 2017, he made a game-changing decision to represent Tonga internationally. At the time, this caused the typical media hype.
I've actually reacted to that Haka video, man. Just go check it out on the channel, but I've reacted to that one, man. I think maybe in the highlights, too.
Storm. And now, looking back in hindsight, this decision didn't just help Tongan Rugby League. it actually kickstarted International Rugby League to a whole new level. For the rugby fans out there, this would be like Richie Mo'unga or Taniela Tupou deciding to represent Tonga instead of the All Blacks and Wallabies.
Right.
While World Rugby absolutely dwarfs Rugby League to the point where you almost can't compare the two, this is changing. It isn't just Taumalolo's decision that is driving this shift to Rugby League. There's a domino effect happening. When you look at international rugby, Fiji, Tonga and Samoa are slowly falling further.
I literally just did this. I didn't know he was going to do it. And he made this a year ago. But based on what we just saw, Fiji is somewhat on the up. To an extent, they're somewhat on the up. They were looking bad maybe last year, but they're back up a little bit. They had 10th. Their worst has been 11th as official rankings, but they're back up a little bit. But as for the other teams, yeah, they're doing a little worse.
Behind the pack. Then when you look at Rugby League, these countries are breaking down barriers which have historically made international league irrelevant. For the first time ever in 2022, a Pacific Island nation made the World Cup final in league. While in Union, there continues to be dismal results. Tonga lost by over 100 points to the All Blacks. Now you can definitely argue against the quality of international rugby league, but that's missing the point I'm trying to make. When you see a famous person from your country competing for gold in the Olympics, you suddenly become more invested and more interested in the event. Which is why Rugby League is managing to achieve participation and interest at skyrocketing levels for Pacific Islanders. In Rugby Union, there's now 12 Super Rugby teams, all with smaller salary caps than the 17 NRL clubs. The problem this leads to is it's more likely for a player to find financial success choosing league as opposed to union. And that's only at a first grade level. In union, there isn't much money going around in second tier competitions in Australia. Hardly any in fact, but New Zealand does have a better structure where players are given reasonable salaries. But this is nothing when you compare it to Rugby League. To save going into too much detail, the Tier 2 competitions in Australia pay players and have a lot more teams and therefore a lot more opportunities for players to be paid. And Rugby League isn't short on money either. With so many clubs across Australia making money through pokie machines at popular leagues clubs, this has allowed teams to provide financial incentives to players across Tier 3 and even Tier 4 competitions. Even more destructive than the pathway systems of Rugby League is the international incentives. This seriously needs to become a priority for World Rugby before it's too late. The Pacific Island talent pools are completely drained and often you'll find players representing their adopted countries. I don't really have a problem with this. What I do have a massive issue with, however, is there's zero incentive for players who want to represent a Pacific Island country. These countries have been crippled financially, and not so long ago, players were having to pay to play at an international level.
Yeah, see, that's where it becomes an issue, at least in the Pacific Islands. Like over there, it might be more of an issue than it is if you start to move out west. You know what I mean? So, yeah, league might have the chance of taking over in terms of being able to have more of a salary cap. Players are able to get on the teams easier, have more recognition, and the teams are just typically are becoming more successful in league, the Pacific Island team specifically. So league might destroy a union in that region, that area, that Oceania, Pacific Islander area, but does that translate when you go out west, right? When you go try to do league in Scotland, you know what I mean? Is that going to translate the same? Is it going to translate the same when you try to put league in America, where there's already the MLR, which is union, and the USA team, the Eagles? Is it going to translate the same? Is the money going to be the same? Because if you put league in America, now that has to compete with the MLR. Which one's going to win? Right? I don't know. I can't really say. But, if you start to push league out to certain areas in Africa, does it translate the same way that it's translated in the Pacific Islands? I don't know. Only time will tell that as league expands, it has a higher, it becomes more of a real battle between the two disciplines. And then another issue is the fact that you have the All Blacks, you have Fiji, you have Australia, the Wallabies. These are teams that, because they've held that top position for so long, it's going to be significantly harder for Tonga, Samoa, and those other teams to have the same type of level of competition in union, in World Rugby. So, it's definitely an interesting case there, but because those teams are so successful, everybody's going to want to go to those teams. The really good players are going to want to go to those teams. The players who can afford to go to those teams are going to go to those teams. And where league is more popular maybe in certain areas and there's more money, it only incentivizes the Pacific Island players to go over there. So I don't know. He's making some interesting points. And only you guys who live over there, talk to people on a regular basis over there, really going to know the gist of how, on the ground level, how people feel about both disciplines.
As Siali Piutau and Steve Murphy both confirmed they had to pay for their flights just to play international rugby for Tonga in 2020.
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Was ranked in the top 15 internationally.
That's crazy.
How does the game let this happen? Contrast this to rugby league, who did have a massive pay gap. If you were wearing a jersey for the Kangaroos, you were earning $20,000 a game and around $10,000 for the Kiwis. While the likes of Jason Tamalolo was earning only a cheeky $500 representing Tonga.
Oh, that's insane.
The governing body for rugby league intervened before letting it get out of hand and ensured there was equal pay for players regardless of who they represented. And while rugby league is constantly under fire for their more than flexible eligibility laws, they are still seeing a massive boom in interest while being able to pay their players decently. I want to state that international rugby is incredible. It's actually in a great place at the moment. But I can't help but to imagine how much better it could be if there was more competitive top-tier countries at the moment. I'm certain it's a push the game needs. Although this shift is kind of hindered with so many governing bodies already formed, it would be a battle for world rugby to have everyone agree. It's also pretty common for people to have the misconception that players would represent their country at birth only. I'm trying to make the point that rugby would be a better product if players played for the country they wanted to play for as opposed to which country had the better financial incentives. Then I think rugby would be in a great place.
I agree completely with that. But it's a matter of destroying the beast, right? Like I said, the beasts are the beasts. The teams that have always been good, that's the thing about rugby, right? I only really know 2 or 3 teams that's been good. That's it, bro. That's it. If I look at NBA or just basketball in general, I could see so many teams that's been good over the years. You look at other international sports, you can name multiple teams that's been good over the years. There's teams that's had longer runs, more consistent runs, but you can name multiple teams that's been really fucking good. In rugby, it seems like there's only like 2 teams. Maybe 3 teams. Let's go 3 teams, maybe. And so with that, it's like, damn, well, where's the competition at? And if there's no competition, what incentivizes people to watch? If they just know they're going to get blown out every time. And the same teams that's good are just going to be good and they get to have fun. And you know what I mean? It's like that big-ass kid at the playground. It's 2 or 3 big-ass kids, and they always get to play on the basketball court. And every time they play, and they only play the people that suck. So every time they play, they just washing everybody off the basketball court. You know what I'm saying? Whoop them up, 11-0, get off the court. Next team, whoop them, 11-1, get off the court. Other team, whoop them, 11-1, get off the court. Then the other good team comes, and they have a good battle. Then it's like, okay, next, boom, boom, get off the court. At a certain point, you keep doing that, all the other people who aren't as good aren't going to play because it's just unfair. So I get where he's saying with that is like, we could have, to increase competition, that increases the entertainment factor and the popularity of the sport. I'm not mad at it. Y'all let me know your thoughts, though.
Imagine the added passion this would bring to every game. Rugby urgently needs to put more energy into supporting the Pacific Island communities, which have supported rugby for so long. Rugby League are literally sweeping the rug out from underneath rugby, intelligently targeting communities that are dense in Pacific Island populations, growing the domestic and international competition. As it stands, there's a massive group of players with Tongan, Samoan and Fijian heritage who mostly grew up in Auckland and Western Sydney. Rugby League is scheduling international head-to-head fixtures featuring high-profile players being played in these regions. It's brilliant, and they're winning a battle I'm not even sure rugby is aware of, which will present huge issues for rugby union moving forward if nothing changes. Financial issues and crowd ratings aside, the depth of players in rugby is going to hit a slow burn. As the Pacific Rising continues in league, future generations of players will be idolising league instead of union. Parents will be more likely to push their kids to league clubs, and while this may not seem like a complete dead end, it's scary to think that with a massive shift in the player base, the quality of your local club's second 15 could quickly become the first 15 because there just isn't the same number of players coming through the system. Rugby Australia and New Zealand Rugby have tried to make some moves to engage the Pacific Island community, like supporting Moana Pacifica to join Super Rugby. While this is a good starting point, it isn't really addressing the issue at hand. Moves must be made at an international level to support the finances, competitions and interests for Pacific Island nations. It just has to happen. It can't just be about the Wallabies and All Blacks anymore, because at the grassroots level, Australia and New Zealand...
Didn't I just say that? Didn't I literally just say that, bro? That's crazy.
Can't just be about the Wallabies and All Blacks anymore, because at the grassroots level, Australia and New Zealand need to keep the strong Pacific Island connections, and failing to do so will see ripple effects felt right across world rugby down the road. Let me know your thoughts. I'm sure there's some great points many of you are wanting to bring to my attention in the comments, and I really want to read them. See you in the next.
Yeah, man. So I fairly agree with everything he's saying, man. Like, I don't know a whole bunch about NRL as much as I know about Union, but I agree with what he's saying because I've thought the same things before to where it's like, certain teams are just going to wash other teams. So it's like, why would you even want to play for Samoa if you know you're just going to get washed by the All Blacks, especially if you know you have a way to go play for the All Blacks, which just makes them that much better in dominating over everybody else. And if you got to pay for your own flight, you play for the All Blacks. You're not paying for your own flight if you play for the All Blacks. I'm sorry, you're not. So there has to be more of a way to, provide, find a way where money could be made, or at least expenses be taken care of if people play for these international teams. And that way, there's more competition, more intense competition, more entertaining gameplay, and it allows for more people to want to tune in, because why tune in to a blowout? You're not going to tune in, USA gets blown out by 1 million points. Why would anybody want to watch USA play the All Blacks again? And y'all know how I felt watching that game. You think I want to go do that again? Like, think about it. You think I want to go do that again? So how would that make the sport popular in USA? But that's a USA thing that we got to do for ourselves too. You know what I'm saying? So them coming out to play us is them trying. But if you're World Rugby, fuck it. Let's get some money. Let's get Samoa to play USA, and let's see what that does. Or let's get the Wallabies to play USA over in America, and let's see how that does. Let's get England to come play Chile and then get, whatever. I know it's easier said than done, but to create more competition amongst the world would I think definitely help with Union and get more players to want to play for different teams, and not being so strict on what team you are allowed to play for. Let the players choose. Just like we do in America when there's when the FIBA World Cup or World Cups are going on. In basketball, international basketball, Pau Gasol could go say, I want to play for America, or Pau Gasol could say, I want to go play for Spain. So he can decide to go play for the home country, or he can decide to play for the country that he's currently playing in. And that just allows more flexibility, better competition, and just changes the game a little bit. But y'all let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments, man. I'm also going to be reacting to the NRL All-Stars versus Indigenous highlights. So be on the lookout for those too, man. Love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Remember to keep it real. Real is rare. Real always reaches everyone. Next time. Peace.